Welcome to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, and thank you all for joining. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're having a fabulous week and happy Thursday, aka Friday Junior, to you all. I'm excited to chat with my guest today, Kevin Palmieri. Kevin is the founder and co-host of the Level University podcast. Early in his life, Kevin found success, but after a brush with suicide, he realized he wasn't living the life he truly wanted. He became passionate about self-improvement and decided to make it his purpose in life to impact as many people as possible by becoming a role model, podcaster, and speaker. He has succeeded to make his podcast one of the top 100 with over 1,000 episodes and listened to in over 125 countries. He has taken his life to the next level and achieved both personal and professional success. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back with Kevin. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. I am excited to welcome Kevin to the show. So welcome on in, Kevin, to the Gyrl podcast.
Thank you so very much for having me, Kyra. I appreciate it. I'm excited to chat. It's a Saturday. We're going to bring the energy, and I'm excited to see where we get to today.
Awesome. Well, why don't you get us started by telling the audience listening or watching who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so today I am the CFO, the founder, and the host of Level University. We're a global top 100 podcast with 1,400 episodes. I think we're at like 1,392 or something like that. We do an episode every single day, and we have listeners in 150 plus countries. So that's the vast majority of what I do is I speak, I coach, and I podcast. And believe it or not, the majority of our audience is primarily female. So you might be thinking, what does this young tattooed man know about women? We've been studying how to help, both men and women, but our audience primarily is women, believe it or not.
Well, that was funny. Sorry. I didn't think that.
Well, I do know, sometimes we do naturally judge a book by its cover, completely understandable. And I like to make sure that I understand what I don't understand, and I'll never claim to know exactly what you've been through. That's always my goal.
Yeah. But you know what? I definitely appreciate that because it just, Lord, obviously I have a podcast that's called Glow Up Gyrl. And so a lot of times I think men are like apprehensive about like, should I listen or should I apply, submit to be on this show? And I'm like, no, like all guests are welcome because we can all, like you said, we can all help each other. We don't know what we don't know. And then when men who listen to the show, sometimes I get messages and they're like, well, I'm a guy and I love listening. I'm like, hey, come on in. Like, we definitely want you here. It's just for me, I mean, the greatest part of who I serve happens to be women. So, because
the more the merrier. The more the merrier. The more the merrier.
So one of the thing that we want to, focus on today with you in your story is really talking about overcoming limiting beliefs. It's something we all deal with, right? And really getting to a place to where we live the life that we're meant to live, whatever that looks like for you. Yes. Let's talk about for yourself. What do your limiting beliefs or fears look like for you?
Yeah, it's very interesting because obviously today I'm on camera and on the microphone all the time, and I might come across as a confident human being. I've just done this many times at this point. In the very beginning for me, the very beginning of this journey, I had a lot of not enoughness. So not smart enough, not good enough, not talented enough, just not enough. Really. I was raised by my mom and my grandmother, and I didn't know my dad. And I didn't meet my dad until I was 27. And now in retrospect, looking back, I think that's where a lot of my not enoughness came from. So a lot of it was I didn't go to college, so I could never be a business owner. I don't have a higher education, so I could never make a lot of money. I'm short, so I'm never going to attract my dream partner. I'm not that smart, so there's no way I could be a good leader. I've never spoken before, so there's no way I'm going to be a good podcaster, right? So it was almost for me, insert limiting belief anytime I thought of trying something new. I'm shy. I'm quiet. I don't get along with people very well, all of that stuff. And it's interesting because after doing this pretty much every day for the last 6 years and coaching and all that stuff, I think at the end of the day, the two roots of most of our problems really come from low self-worth and low self-belief. Or not even low, misaligned or inaccurate, I'd say.
Right.
Right. So I definitely had low self-worth. I didn't feel like I was worthy of success.
Yeah.
And I definitely had low self-belief. I didn't think I was capable of creating success. And yeah, I had a lot of limiting beliefs for sure.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for sharing that. But I want to also just align with you and come into agreement with you that I appreciate you sharing that, because I think like you just mentioned some moments ago about judging, a book, because I think people just assume that those who are speaking, those who are on podcasts, that means like, we're like, oh yeah, I've got all this confidence and I'm really great at this. And I'm like, no, I mean, it took me, when I launched this podcast in 2020, it took me like a whole 2 months from the time that it was like placed, when I heard the call to do it. And then I talked myself out of it every time. Every time I said, oh my gosh, like nobody wants to hear what you have to say. Like, I mean, who are you? And then I would allow for myself to go down that road. I'm like, well, all these other people have podcasts and they talk about things similar to you, and they're like famous people. So why would you think that your podcast is going to make a difference? And so like every time there was like an obstacle of like the why I shouldn't do something. And then eventually just got to this place of, I'm like, well, I personally believe that like God doesn't bring something to me, to do, and like keep giving me the signs to do it, and then like to just like sit there and leave it on the shelf.
Yeah. I think one of the most common misconceptions for us is that where people are today is where they've been forever, and where you are today is where you're going to be forever. I think that's one of the things is we see, I always use Taylor Swift because most people know who Taylor Swift is. We assume Taylor Swift's always been as good as she is. No. Or we assume she just made it one day. And it's like, kind of, but she worked for 15 years behind the scenes that, there was 3 people at her show probably, and nobody cared. But it also is on the other end. Just because you are somewhere today does not mean that's where you're going to be 5 years from today.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to mean that.
I mean, and I think like it goes and plays a part into a next question I want to ask you about is really being consistent. And it's really like, what role do you think consistency plays in that process of helping you to overcome the limiting beliefs?
I think it's everything, because this is the interesting thing. I used to have this thing I did called fear chasing. So I would literally say I went on a podcast and I was scared. I'd do a little check. It's like, okay, I did one fear chasing activity today. This is the interesting thing. Doing one a day is far easier than doing one a week, because if you do one a week, there's 6 days or 7 days between the times that you do them. So you psych yourself up, you forget, you lose the momentum. Consistency allows you to do, and here's the interesting thing, it allows you to do less more frequently. Rather than, so if we think of the numbers, right? A spotty 70% is better, or a consistent 70% is better than a spotty 100. So let's just play numbers for a second. If you did 70% effort 7 days in a row, 7 times 70 is 490. So we'll just remember 490. If you did 100% for 3 days and you took the other 4 days off, that's only 300%. So you could quite literally do the best ever for 3 days in a row, or you could do 70% for 7 days in a row. And the consistency of the 70% is always going to win. It's that is the consistency. It has to start from a place of sustainability. This is one of the reasons why New Year's resolutions are so challenging. That for most people, they're not sustainable.
Right.
We're starting from I want to accomplish a massive goal in a short period of time, not I want to do what I do now forever. So yeah,
right.
You touched a passion point for me, because consistency is everything, and it's very hard to win without it.
And I agree with you. And I love the example. I love that because I think when people can think about it in numbers or even just in days of saying, because that was a perfect example to say, okay, well, I'm going to do it once a week. And then, like you say, you've got 6 other days to talk yourself out of it,
Yeah.
to talk yourself out of it, to let negative self-doubt come in and tell you, well, that last time wasn't, I mean, I think it was okay, but was it really okay?
Right.
But when you're doing something every day, then you're just pretty much like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to just go give it my all. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to get it. You're going to see me be great some days. You're going to see me have some not so, like, I don't know, like, was that a great episode? I mean, I even look at it with my podcast when I first started. I was like, well, I'm going to do them like bi-weekly. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should just do them like every 3 weeks. And then after a while, I was like, well, for me, like having another, like a job as well, like I said, I'm going to do them weekly because I can be consistent. And then they're going to launch on this date and I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it my all, like every week and show up. I'm going to show up for myself. And I think that's important versus like because the consistency and, it's like you allowing for your negative self-doubt to come in and tell you that it's okay. Don't do it this time.
Yeah. It's
like,
that's the other thing is the more consistent you are, the more limiting beliefs you eliminate because you're just working on brick by brick. You're pulling down the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't think I could do it, but I actually did that. It went better than I thought. Interesting. Next time, right? I say kind of the 2 R's, recent and relevant proof. So when you're going to do something, maybe you've never done it before, so you don't have any proof. But if you've done it, you're going to look at the most recent and relevant proof. When is the last time I did a podcast episode? When is the last time I fear chased? When is the last time I approached somebody? If it went well, you're probably going to have more momentum. If it didn't go well, we have to reformulate that and rebuild our relationship with that. But we're always looking for proof.
Yeah. And you have to like always be able to like reframe something.
Yep.
I know a couple of weeks ago, I have a friend who's searching for a new job. And so she mentioned to me, she said, well, I mean, I've already gotten like 3 rejections already. And I said, no. I said, it just means that God thought those jobs weren't good enough for you. And she was like, oh, I never thought about it like that. I was like, yes, you can't go into like, you don't know the reasons why. And I said, especially when you don't have all the answers. Most jobs today, they don't have time to like personally send everybody a note back to say like, oh yeah, maybe you could have been overqualified. All they tell you is that we're sorry, but we've decided not to move forward with you with this particular role. So that definitely leaves it really open-ended for people to take what they want from that, And so I told her, I was like, but this is the way that you have to reframe it and know that it wasn't the best for you and move to the next opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't allow losses to stop momentum. Losses are lessons.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't like that in the beginning. I promise. In the beginning, it was like the losses were the end of the world and I couldn't get up the next day. So I'm not expecting somebody to listen and say, you know what? I'm going to go lose. I completely understand. But just that understanding of one of the reasons I feel like a confident podcaster, I feel like I'm a pretty strong speaker, right? One of the reasons I've made a mistake on every single episode I've ever done. I've just made more mistakes than everybody else, 1,400 of them at least. And then you learn what not to do.
Yeah.
And when you learn what not to do, it actually helps you understand what to do more and better. So mistakes are part of life. And I think that as children, we're taught failure is making a mistake, when in reality, it's not. I had a client one time say to me, I'm so afraid to take this test because I'm afraid I'm going to fail. And so let me ask you a question. Simple question. If you do not pass the first time, can you take it again? And she said, yeah, you can take it as many times as you want, but it costs like $50. And I said, go take the test and I'll give you the $50 if you fail, because you're not going to fail. And even if you do fail, you can retake it.
Yes.
And you're going to know what's on the test. My goodness, that's a cheat code. So failure is not failure until it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely believe someone told me a really long time ago to fail fast. So I'm all about like the acts of like jumping into something, failing fast. If it works great. If it doesn't, then I mean, I've done so many things. And I tell people, I'm like, I've done so many things with Gyrl as a business that didn't work. Like, I mean, and I didn't soak in it. I just said, oh, okay, well, that didn't work. So let's see, can I tweak that? Can I either pivot and do something different with this, or do I need to move away from it altogether? And I think a lot of times we have to learn how to like pull our emotion out of some things, especially when it relates to like our businesses and we're like all gung ho, but I'm like, that's not how you scale or grow the business. I mean, you have to be able to like sort of separate yourself from like what makes sense for you to do versus like, this is not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. You can't emotionalize it. It's a challenge for sure, but I 100% agree with that.
And like you said, like we're telling you because we have gotten to this place.
Yes.
It wasn't always, it definitely wasn't always like this. I mean, even I will say like even in 2020, like right prior to the pandemic, so for most people, if you are an avid listener, I work in marketing in my second life. But for those of you who don't know, I am a business owner and I also work. So I was looking for a job in 2020. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a new job. I was actually interviewing for a job, and then the pandemic happened. And then that job, just like for many other people who were interviewing, jobs went away. They got put on hold. And so, okay, I said, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to wait. Then it started back, looking around like November that year, because I started to see like more jobs opening again, more people, obviously then the remote opportunities were like everywhere. And so I actually interviewed with a job, was offered that job by the end of December. And even though I wanted out of my current job at the time, I was like, something just doesn't feel right. And don't feel like this is a right fit for me. It seems like it, but it just gut. I always listen to my intuition, and it never steers me wrong. And so I didn't take that job. But then in 2021, I went on like a losing spree, you could say. I mean, they're left and right. They were like, no, thank you, ma'am. No, thank you. And what I did is I have a box that I call the glow box, where I put in like wins, opportunities, like just anything. Like I drop notes in, and I opened that box up at the end of 2021. And I can't tell you the number of like companies who had said, that's okay, lady, we'll pass. And so, I could have taken that. Like at one point, there was a moment where, like that October where I felt a little defeated, and I was just like, oh man, like, I just don't know. Like, am I ever going to get a job? Like, what's happening? I said, should I have taken that other job? Like, should I have taken that other job? And then I was like, no, like, just focus your time. It'll come. So in 2022, at the top of the year, kind of went through the month of January, and I was like, let me just get settled into, the regular job, make sure I've got everything going that needs to be going. In February, I started again. I was like, you know what? Got to get back out there. Started reading a couple like prayers on like direction and clarity, just making sure that I had clarity about what it was I wanted to do next. Like I didn't want to just be going into a job just to leave a job that I felt didn't serve me anymore. But then I went into this moment of at the top of February. I mean, I had like 5 interviews with all like good opportunities and people who had reached out to me on LinkedIn. Like, I don't think I had applied for like any of these jobs. They were just people that found me. And then ultimately I have the job that I'm in now, but it's just like, you've got to be consistent in your way of thinking, your consistency and like, trying and doing the thing that serves you best, not just saying, well, I'll take anything because I want out of a situation. Yeah. But then also being able to take the lessons that came from, because for me, when I think about all the jobs that I thought I wanted, like now I was like, ooh, I'm really glad I didn't get that job, because I don't think that would have been a good fit for me ultimately. Mm-hmm. So
consistency is everything. Yeah. Consistency is everything. And I always say this too, because this is kind of what happens, right? We think, well, we got to make sure we're doing the right things at the right time in the right way. And most people think productivity. So I want to make sure I'm making calls, whatever, posting on social media, exercise, all that. Self-care, you also have to do consistently. Because if you don't do self-care consistently, everything else falls. Last night and the night before, my business partner and I worked until 10 p.m. So I worked 5:30 in the morning till 10 p.m. Not sustainable, right? I'm running on 5.5 hours of sleep. I had a big leg day this morning. I am sleeping. But sometimes that's the season, but it's not sustainable, right? So if I do that consistently, I'm not going to be able to do this as consistently with as much quality. So on the productive end, yes, be consistent, show up, do the right things. On the R&R, fulfillment, cup filling, you got to be consistent there too, because you need to be well-rounded.
I agree with you. Like, those are things that always stick out to me. Anything that I do now in my life, it's like you said, consistency, but also, is it sustainable?
100%.
Because if it's not, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's just like in business. I mean, I think people, you hear these terms, like if you work in a job and it's like, is this a sustainable process? Can we do this? Like, I always tell my team, like, you want to work smarter, not harder. You want to set practices and processes in place and things that, are sustainable, things that we can scale and grow with, so that you're not always having to go back and reinvent the wheel every time we do something. So like, what if every time for you, like you said, on those seasons where you find yourself working from 5:30 to 10 o'clock at night, what if you weren't consistent with like processes or putting things into place that would help your business run? Then you'd be like all out of whack.
Yeah. Everything would fall.
You probably wouldn't make it past the first day of 5:30.
No, probably not. We're blessed because we have a really amazing team. So it's, to your point, there's the systems, and I was talking to my business partner recently, and I said, there's really two very important things when it comes to being consistent. There's discipline and design. Discipline of, I know this is what's best for me. I know I might not want to do it, but I do believe I'll be grateful after. That's discipline. Design is, I make sure my AirPods are by the door, next to my shoes, next to my pre-workout, next to whatever, my gym clothes. That's design. If you can pair discipline and design, that you will be consistent, because when design falls, you have to tap into discipline. When discipline falls, you have to tap into design. And if you can have both of those, that's a really, really smooth system to be more consistent, for sure.
I love that you use that as the example, because I think a lot of times like during the week, I get up at 5:40. Don't ask me why it's 5:40. It's just 5:40. It's 5:40. And I, read, I pray, and then I work out. And, and I work from home. So, I work out, then I go take my dog for a walk, and I come back, shower, get ready, sitting at my desk, usually by 7:30, ready to go. And, and then somebody was like, I mean, and like, you work at home now and you still get up that early? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I used to get up at 4:40 when I had to drive to an office. And I was like, but yeah, I said, it was important for me to keep the discipline of like working out in the morning, versus me saying, oh yeah, I'll do it like at lunch, or I'll do it later in the day. Because just because you work at home, it doesn't mean that your life is designed like, I just got endless amounts of free time, even though I think like people still believe that. But I was like, no. And at night, I put my workout clothes like on the side of like the tub, I lay them out, so that when I wake up at 5:40, and it's easy for me to just go into the process. And so, because if they're not there, then it's easy for me to say, I mean, I know, not in the sense that like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's just that I'll be like, oh, I could go ahead and work on this. I could get jump start on the day and do this thing, and then I could work out later. But no, I lay them out so that those shoes are ready for my feet to hit in there. And I go in that room and I do it. And I think that's so important, because either a lot of times people have one without the other.
Yes. Yeah.
And and a lot of people probably haven't thought about it in the terms of you saying discipline and design. It's, it's just like, oh, I'm going to be disciplined enough to like work out. But then as soon as something doesn't like work, I'm going to say, that's okay, I'll work out.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Well,
I'll do it tomorrow.
One of my biggest fears is flying. Doesn't make any sense to me how something that large and that heavy can fly through the sky that smoothly. Doesn't make sense. I'll never believe it. I don't like planes. But what the interesting thing about that whole industry is, think about it. It's design. They go through the same checklist every single time, and they're disciplined enough to do it. That's why it's safe. The restaurants you go to, discipline of hiring the right staff and them showing up and doing it the right way. Design. This is how we do it. This is our system. Smile when you go out there. Always ask if somebody wants a refill, blah, blah, blah. Right. That's really all it is. That's what a standard operating procedure is. That's what a system is, discipline and design.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I understand. Is that a cat or a dog on that mug? Is that a cat?
These are my cats. This is Fudge and Ace. Yeah, my wife got me this for Father's Day because we don't have any children, but we have 2 cats.
I like it. Yes.
I also have a coaster here. Hold on, real quick. This is my coaster of them.
Oh, I love it. I have a mouse pad of I don't know if you can see it, but that's my boy. That's Max. So yeah,
cutie.
No, there's always a break for pets.
I love that. You're my people.
I'm a fur mama, so I mean, yeah, I love it. All right, okay, so look, we digress, but for a good purpose. Okay, so talking about continuous self-improvement, right? I know how important that is to you and what you do every day, and I have just enjoyed hearing you talk about it. And I know that you are definitely a lot of valuable to your clients and those that you serve. What role has it played for you? How do you continue to improve yourself? What practices, what is Kevin doing?
Yeah, it's the role it's played for me is it's allowed me to understand that the level to which we succeed is usually directly connected to the level of our self-improvement. I never thought that, because you see a lot of successful people who might not have a high level of self-improvement. Financial success is not well-rounded success necessarily. Right. Yeah. So when I decided, I made 6 figures in my mid-20s. I was miserable. I had suicidal ideations. I just was unhappy and I needed to change my life. And when I started to think about what would success be, health, wealth, and love, not just wealth, not just health, not just love. How do I get all of those things? If I really want to be a great partner to my wife, if I really want to be a great business partner to my business partner, a leader for the team, a friend, capable, a good speaker, understanding business, eloquent, competent, that is all self-improvement. I used to think self-improvement was like a woo thing. I never understood the importance of learning. I didn't know how malleable our brains were. So quite literally, it has provided every single opportunity I have. I wouldn't be here talking to you if I didn't practice self-improvement, right? So on the day-to-day, every single day, I learn for at least 30 minutes, whether it's YouTube video, Audible, TED Talk, coaching, whatever it may be. That's non-negotiable. That happens every single day. And I try to really go through my day with intentionality in terms of reflecting. So I ask myself why a lot. Like, why do I feel very comfortable around you? You're very warm, you're very open, you're positive, you're very positive. I'll ask myself the same question if I don't feel comfortable around someone. Why don't I feel comfortable? Oh, there's some toxic masculinity there, or there's some, there's something there that I don't resonate with. Okay, interesting. And when I've been doing that for 6 years, so a lot of stuff just started to make sense. Yeah. And then you can kind of connect the dots. So yeah, for me, learning is a non-negotiable. I'm doing it every single day. And then I'm always reflecting on experiences to see what I can pull from, see if I can store some kind of lesson in my pouch. And then I can always use that lesson later. That really is the main thing I'm doing. And I talk about this stuff so much between, being on podcasts, coaching people, our podcast, the team, that this is just the way we communicate at this point. It's our team tracks their habits. I track 26 habits a day. So it's just that this is just the life we've created, which I am very, very grateful for.
I love that. I think that is awesome. And, one of the things you mentioned about, extracting the lessons and asking why, I think a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people don't walk away from the example you just mentioned, saying like, if you and I didn't get along so swimmingly great like we are, if we got off this and and I was like, I just don't know. I mean, I do that a lot. And I think especially when you're in podcasting, because there are some people that you might talk to, interview, and you're just like, wow, it's like I've known this person forever.
Yeah.
And then there are some people where you're like, oh, I just don't know. And I was like, okay, let me just think back to like my interaction and how, did I ask the right questions? Like, was I friendly? Like, I think I was friendly. Like, I was just not getting the same like energy back. But obviously, I don't care who you are and how you come to the table. I'm not going to match your energy. I'm going to give you like positivity. I'm not going to let you change how I decide to show up at the party. Yeah. But I love the idea of like taking away and trying to understand what that opportunity was, because I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss. And that's why they continuously go through the same patterns over and over when they're just like, I don't know. I mean, these people are crazy, because it's always usually those people are crazy. I just don't know why, but it's like a lot of times just taking a step back and saying, what is my role in it? Right. And is there something I'm supposed to get from it before I'm allowed to leave it? Because a lot of times you won't leave something. You're not going to leave it. I don't know, y'all. I got another story. Another story. Okay, so for me personally, because that's what I know is me and what I've done. The job that I was at prior to this last job, I wanted out so bad, right? And I wanted to leave because, as I was just mentioning many minutes ago, that I'd had that one job offer at the end of 2020. Didn't take that job. Well, roll into 2021, top of 2021. My manager at the time is leaving the company. My coworker, who I worked very closely with, has gotten a job and is leaving. So there are two people that are now leaving on the team where their work is like, ta-da, going to become my work until we decide, are we backfilling whatever. And I just remember being like, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get out now. I have to leave here. But I knew that like, it was important for me, as badly as I wanted out. There was a moment where it clicked that I had to not prove something to those people, but I had to prove something to myself, that like, I could stand on my own without those other two people, that I was going to be able to carry, the ship forward. And it was like, yes, a year later, I had got another job, but the impression and the impact that I left, after that was like, oh my God, yeah, like we're really going to miss you because like you did all these great things. But for me, it was validating for myself to know that like I was able to do it. And at a moment where I felt like I wanted to run because everybody else was running, like God didn't allow for me to run. It's like, no, you're going to stay there. You're going to stay there, Kyra, and you're going to get these lessons.
They're invaluable. One of the things that really shifted for me, I was in Florida with my business partner and one of our friends. We were hosting an event with him, and we were working out. He lived in a condo. It had a gym, so we were working out in the gym. And I remember being present in the workout, feeling super confident because I've been going to the gym. I'm 33. I've been lifting for like 15 years, right? So I'm very confident in the gym. I spent a lot of time there. The second we transitioned, so we finished our workout and then we started talking about business. And I remember getting very insecure and villainizing my friend and my business partner, saying like, oh my God, these guys are so arrogant when it comes to business. And that wasn't true. I was just super insecure. And it was that of, okay, well, what is there for me to learn here? It's not, this isn't a them issue. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes
it is them.
Right. But sometimes it is them, but it wasn't in this situation. These are two people that I care about deeply, and they've been nothing but wonderful to me. When I asked myself, is this a me thing or a them thing? That really helped me understand, okay, if I villainize them, and I give them the responsibility of this, I can't fix it. If you give away responsibility, you give away opportunity. And that was a very, very important breakthrough for me. And it allowed me to see it more clearly and then at least take action on it.
Yes, I like that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that happens far more than we know, right? And it's not just, it's business for you. It could be other, topics for other people where they just, like, I think, like, I know sometimes, when you're a group of people and someone's talking about, travel, and they travel here, and, I've gone, da, 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 and then there maybe is a person that hasn't traveled as much, right? And it's like, all they want to do is talk about their trips and how they see the world and blah, blah. And it's just like, it's okay. Like, I don't think, I think, like you said, what's important is to like sort of understand the landscape of the people you're around, right? You knew those were two people who cared about you, two people who you love and who are friends. And so that it wasn't a malicious intent in bringing up a topic and talking about business. And you were in a safe space to be able to learn from it so that the next time, you are able to contribute in that space.
It was a little bit. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of contribution the next time, but it was a little bit more than the first time. That's where you start.
Yeah, you were those building blocks.
Little by little.
You were building that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So,
little by little.
Okay. Exactly. So, we live in, age, and something that I'm very, very intentional about is purpose, right? And making sure that once you find it, I think it's like, wow, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? This is fantastic. But for a lot of people who may still be out there seeking, like, what is it that what am I supposed to be doing? What advice can you share with people?
Yeah, it's a challenge because there's a lot of different frameworks to think about. Like when people talk about purpose, often it's, what are you good at? What do you love doing? Mm-hmm. What does the world need desperately? And what can you get paid to do? And usually your purpose is somewhere in the middle, but there could be a lot of things there. This is what I always say. I believe our purpose comes from our deepest pain. And one of our mentors, Evan Carmichael, said that a long time ago, and it just really, really started to make sense. So just as an example, my business partner's girlfriend went to the Great Barrier Reef. She loves nature. She is all about the environment, sustainability. She loves nature. She found out very quickly that the Great Barrier Reef is more like the Great Barrier Cemetery. And one of her new purposes became to help the environment. Because the pain of that, she took responsibility for it and said, wow, this really bothers me. It probably bothers me because I should do something about it. So I always think of purpose as the way that you want to improve the world, because that's really what we want to do. We want to improve something in a certain way that means something to us. That's purpose. That's passion. Here's the interesting thing. The vehicle is how you do it. I've always wanted to help people. I've been coaching for a long time. I've always kind of been that guy, but I didn't know it was going to be with a podcast. So I might argue that finding the vehicle is just as important as finding the purpose, because there's a lot of people listening right now who say, yeah, I want to help single moms find jobs over the internet. That's my purpose. As a single mom, I know what it's like to struggle to find a job, do interviews, find somebody to watch the children. Awesome. Okay, how are you going to do it? What's the vehicle? Is it just a website? Are you going to start a social media brand? Are you going to start a podcast? Are you going to start a YouTube channel? Are you going to be a speaker? Are you going to be a coach? You're going to run ads? I think oftentimes the vehicle is where we get lost. I think we, as heart-driven humans, know we want to help a certain person accomplish a certain goal in a certain way, or a certain, maybe not a certain person, but a certain thing. So one thing I would say is reflect on your life and ask yourself, how many times did I say, wow, that would be really nice? Or I can only imagine what it would be like if I got to do that. And then ask yourself, is the reason you didn't follow up with that because you didn't have the vehicle? I think the purpose is probably more visible than we realize, but purpose and vehicle have to be connected.
I think that is very good advice, because that is all the time when someone figures out, like, it's this thing that I want to do, it's the how. But the how do I bring it to life? And that's where a lot of people struggle, because like you said, you listed out like 6 things immediately that you could do. But I think you have to, then that's where you have to focus in on like the person that you're trying to help and the ways to reach them, meeting them where they are, because it's not always going to be, and Lord knows, I mean, we could probably go on a whole like tangent about social media and, but I mean, you know, it's trying to find like the most authentic place to meet them. Because most times when you are, as you mentioned, when you're doing like heart-centered work for people, I mean, a lot of times you may or may not find them deep in those like spaces where most people go to play, right? They may not be living on like Instagram all day or TikTok all day, but you may have to take a different approach to finding them via like you said, your example of being of single moms, maybe there's like single moms, like spaces or support areas on communities where you could go into those communities and introduce yourself and how you can help them.
Yeah, I think your purpose is from your pain. So don't be afraid to look at the pain. If you had a big pain that you overcame and you figured out how to get through it, your purpose might be to help other people do the same.
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, I feel like, you know, definitely for myself, like I just always want to leave the world better than the way I found it. And, you know, and also like for me, like understanding how hard it's been as a woman in my own journey to like break barriers, to like have boundaries, to establish boundaries, to be able to tell people to know without feeling like, oh, I'm a bad person if I don't help this, you know, the 12th person today. And I think like that, you know, that is why, you know, I wanted to start this business, is because I feel like women give of themselves so much all the time that often, you know, as we talked about, the cup is like depleted. There's nothing left. And it's like, who's pouring into them? So it's like, no, we're here. We're pouring into you to help you, to help give you, you know, to cheer you on, even if I don't know people individually who are listening to this podcast. But if I feel like I can touch one person, that helps them to like go, oh, you know what? She had a guest on. That guest was like awesome. And, you know, I learned these things today. That Kevin told me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to take this. I mean, I feel like the job is like being done, you know?
Yeah, of course. I have to believe the same thing. That's what it's all about. Impact.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So because I could talk to you like literally probably all day, I'm going to shift this here, everyone, because I know we got lives, we got things, you know, Kevin's got things to do today.
I do have to hop off in 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and tell the audience how they can connect to you. And then lastly, what would be 3 things you'd like for the audience to take away from our conversation today?
Okay. Search Next Level University. That's the best place to find me because it has all our information and you'll figure out if you resonate with us. So we're on all the podcast platforms, on YouTube as well, 1,400 episodes. So there's a lot of content. 3 things I want the audience to take away. Number 1, from day to day, progress is invisible. From year to year, progress is impossible to miss. I went to the gym yesterday. I went to the gym today. I don't look any different. I look exactly the same. But if I do that for another 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, couple months, I'll start to see changes. Day to day, you don't really see much, but it doesn't mean you're not doing the right thing. That's one. Second one, I would say, understand that where people are today is not where they've always been. So don't get caught into thinking where you are today is where you're going to be forever. And then I would end with a question, one of my favorite questions in the world. Are the people in your life the best from your past or the best for your future? A lot of the people in our lives are in our lives because they've been in our lives. And it was because of geography. It's because of nostalgia, and it was by coincidence or lack of choices. It doesn't necessarily mean they're best for your future. That's a very powerful question to ask. So those are the 3 things I would end with.
Awesome. Well, I have definitely enjoyed having this conversation with you and you being here. So thank you so much. You can always come back, because I feel like there's so much more that we could talk about, but best of luck to you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. This was truly wonderful.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thanks again to Kevin for joining the show today. What a wonderful and positive conversation. I just really enjoyed chatting with him today. If you want to learn more about Kevin and Next Level, you can check the show notes for the links. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Girl, you can visit us at glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes, sign up to join the show, grab us social links, and so much more. If you are not listening to our career-focused episodes, you can check those out as well. It is where I share my personal journey relating to my career. Also, if you are listening on a platform where you can leave a review or rate us, please feel free to do so. Also, check us out on Patreon and unlock your potential to glow. Glow and grow, I should say. Check out a 7-day free membership where you can get full and exclusive access to career tips, guidance, resources, and so much more that are all designed to help you create a career and life you love. So head on over. The link to our Patreon is in the show notes. So sign up. And it's only $5 a month. I mean, come on, think about the things that you spend $5 on. There's not a lot that you can get for $5 anymore, right? Maybe Starbucks, but like a tall, definitely not getting a grande, and you sure are probably going to get a venti. I'm just saying, it's $5 to access a lot of great tips for productivity hacks, career information, tips and resources, and all that good jazz. So head on over there, check out the link, check out the free 7-day trial, and then sign up. I'd love to have you in the community where we can talk more deeply about what it is you want for your life and your career, and I will be there to help you every step along the way. Also, if you have any guests or also any topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to drop me an email at hello@glowupgirl.com, or you can find me on Instagram and send me a DM. We are at Glow Up Girl there as well. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. It means a lot to me that you join us here on the show weekly, and all the support just means so much. So until next time, my friends, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.